Hello and welcome to the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. And boy, did it connect last night. I did a live stream for about 2.5 hours, and it was buzzing with comments, buzzing with emotions, buzzing with reason, buzzing with a lot of stuff. We went through Caitlin's interview with Time Magazine. Caitlin Clark obviously was awarded the Athlete of the Year for 2024. The article was long, and I wanted to go through all of it, and we did. Now, I didn't just read it. I read it, some of it. We stopped and we conversed about it. I read some more. We stopped. We broke it down, and I must say, we were cooking. Now, I didn't get to read all the comments because I was talking, and then I was reading the article and going back and forth. From what I could see, there are some people, and not just at the Adrienne Ross Show comments, but out there, there are people who are really not happy with the comments that Caitlin Clark was quoted as saying. I'm not happy with a few things she said either. But I think from what I saw, many people, if not most people, feel like she's 22 years old. She's young. Extend some grace. And I am extending grace. I also brought out the point that Caitlin Clark could very well just mean what she said. Some people want to say she was taken out of context, perhaps. Some people want to say they forced her into doing it. She was pressured, etc. And those are possibilities. It's also possible that she said exactly what she meant. Does your support of her basketball rely on you agreeing with everything she said? That's something that you have to decide. I tend to think, as many people said in the comments, yo, we're rocking with Caitlin's basketball, even if we don't agree with some of that other stuff. But it is concerning to a certain extent. I'm not going to relitigate everything that I said in that live. So you should watch it. It's 2.5 hours, but here's the deal. You're going to be spending 2.5 hours doing something anyway. Might as well turn on the Adrienne Ross Show, and even if you can't watch because you're busy doing something, you should be listening because a lot came out. Now, for those of you who tend to say, just leave it alone, just let it go. No. Wrong channel for that. This is the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. We're going to talk about these things because we can do that. And Caitlin Clark is not so fragile that we cannot discuss the things that she said and how it relates not just to sports, but to culture. And so I want to transition just a little bit because, like I said, I'm not going to relitigate all that other stuff. You can watch it. The title of it was, did Caitlin Clark go full Paige Beckers? Is she just young, or is she spot on? So you can go check that out. But I want to transition a little bit to Sheryl Swoopes. I didn't know that Sheryl Swoopes had commented. I didn't know she was on Gil's Arena. But in the comments of that live, people started talking about, do you see what Sheryl Swoopes said? You see? I was like, I didn't know anything. And some people were outraged. Now, I haven't watched anything that any podcasters have put out there about what Sheryl Swoopes said, but I did watch what she said. And I don't necessarily have the same reaction. I think Sheryl Swoopes has created such a reputation that we are ready to pounce on anything she said. By we, I mean people are ready to just pounce on anything she said. I didn't really have the same reaction. I could see a certain resistance on her part when he first asked what she thought about her being named Athlete of the Year. It was like, and of course, a lot of people say, so that may mean nothing at all. She then went into the criteria. She was curious about that. I didn't necessarily have a problem with that either. I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to show this to you. But I really want to get to not just that, but I want to get to something else that happened, not with what Sheryl Swoopes said, but what she didn't say when asked a question, the nothing that she said or didn't say, depending on how you look at it, and how this is an example of why Caitlin Clark does not owe anybody anything and doesn't need to make the kinds of comments she made about privilege. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Take a look.
But Sheryl, start with you. What's your reaction to Caitlin Clark winning Time Magazine Athlete of the Year? I don't think I'm surprised. I'm curious to know who the other candidates were, but the fact that that's the very first WNBA player to ever win Time Magazine Athlete of the Year is pretty special. And my question.
Okay, so I'll stop right there. She did acknowledge this is the first WNBA player to ever win. It's a special thing. She does acknowledge that, but she does have a question about it. And let's hear what that is.
And my question is, like the criteria, is it based off of her performance on the court, which yeah, she had a great year, or is it more about the impact that she had on the game this season?
Now, I don't really find that to be a controversial question. For me, for most people, it's a no-brainer that Caitlin would win Athlete of the Year. Who else? But we've asked the question about Rookie of the Year before. We've asked the question about MVP. So coming from someone else, we probably wouldn't feel some type of way about it. She says, is it play on the court? Is it other stuff? Is it impact? Because I guess to Sheryl Swoopes, it makes a difference, which it is.
I'm sure a mix of both. Obviously, WNBA saw record viewership numbers across the board. Her team's played in a lot of those games.
No, I think it's great, not just for her. I think it's great for the league.
Okay, so it's great for the league. Now, he says it's everything. You want to know which one it is, Sheryl. Okay, it's everything. And she says, I think it's great.
Right? Like everybody talked about the recognition that she brought to the W this season. So for her to be Time Magazine Athlete of the Year, I think it's really great for the league.
Now, again, positive, right?
So in the Time article, Clark had a strong quote acknowledging her privilege.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to back up a little bit. First of all, let me stop here. So she just said, I want to know the criteria. They ended up getting back into that. And she said, you know, it could have been Simone Biles. It could have been A'ja Wilson. And so that, I guess that's why she wants to know the criteria, because A'ja Wilson, MVP again. So she's saying in the WNBA, I guess, as far as Sheryl Swoopes is concerned, if you're talking about basketball alone, sounds to me, though she didn't say it, but she said it could be, sounds to me that she would think that A'ja Wilson would get it. And perhaps Simone Biles would deserve it. But they said, and she was nodding throughout. I'm not going to play it all, but she was nodding throughout in agreement that it's the whole package, that she on the court and off the court. And they said it's been global. It's not just the WNBA. And they even refuted when she said A'ja Wilson. They said, well, that's the WNBA. Caitlin Clark is larger than that. And Sheryl was nodding and she seemed to be in agreement. So a little bit like, what's the criteria? I mean, I understand that people are like, yeah, Sheryl, I know you're looking for a problem. For the most part, anybody else says it, we don't have a problem with that. I don't think, because we've asked those kinds of questions ourselves. But I want to get to the next part. And that was when he points out what Caitlin said about her white privilege, which we broke down deep in the live I did last night. So let's take a look at his question and let's take a look at the response and or non-response that took place as a result.
So in the Time article, Clark had a strong quote acknowledging her privilege. Here's what she said. I want to say I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, there is privilege. A lot of those players in the league that have been really good have been Black players. This league has kind of been built on them. The more we can appreciate that, highlight that, talk about that, and then you continue to have brands and companies invest in those players that have made this league incredible, I think it's very important. I have to continue to try to change that. The more we can elevate Black women, that's going to be a beautiful thing. So, when you hear Caitlin say that, because Caitlin obviously in the media has been very,
He has a great marketing team.
I'm not, I'm just hooping.
Okay, now you heard what Caitlin said. Let me come out of this share real quick, so it's a full face thing. You heard what Caitlin Clark said. I want to first say that I have earned absolutely everything, but I also, as a white person, have privilege. And we broke this down in the live. Those are contradictory statements. You didn't earn everything and have white privilege. If you earned everything, you earned everything. It doesn't even make sense. Okay? But I want you to notice what he said, what Gil said. He said she's got a great marketing team. And you can hear Sheryl Swoopes like, So I'm going to bring this together in a moment.
The media have been very,
He has a great marketing team.
I'm not, I'm just hooping.
He's trying to stay at the barbecue, goddamn, because yeah.
Thank you. She was invited to the bar. She was,
Okay, see that? She's trying to stay at the barbecue. And then Jude says, oh, she was invited to the barbecue. And he moves on. And Sheryl Swoopes is in giving her a nod, giving her a hug, giving her. And let's keep going.
She got the cookout. But when you hear that, thoughts on Caitlin Clark saying she wants to use her platform to elevate Black women in the WNBA, have been instrumental, obviously, in building that league for what it is.
Crickets.
Okay.
So what's the since it's 2019, right? I mean,
I'm going to back that up again. He asked Sheryl for thoughts about Caitlin Clark saying she wants to use her platform to elevate Black women in the league. And you can see her face. And then you're going to see a sigh when Gil begins to speak. And he's just like, okay. All right, so back this up a little bit.
But when you hear that, thoughts on Caitlin Clark saying she wants to use her platform to elevate Black women in the WNBA, have been instrumental, obviously, in building that league for what it is. Okay.
so what's the since it's 2019, right? I mean, it's
There's a
5
sigh.
years.
There's
So-
a sigh.
What?
I'm going to stop here because I want to put some things together. Caitlin Clark should take note. I've said it many times. I said it last night. I'll say it in the future. I imagine I'm saying it now. You can't give in to the pressure of having to play the game. Oh, yeah, I've got white privilege. You can't give in. I understand you're young. I understand there's a culture in the WNBA that it's toxic and it seems to change people. Now she's saying that I'm going to do my part to make sure I elevate the Black players in the league because I've worked hard, but I got privilege. That in and of itself is full of problems, the statement. But I'm not going to say what I already said last night. But Caitlin doesn't need to do this. And I hope she never does it again. Because you can see it will never be enough. You give an inch, they want more. You think by saying what they want to hear you say that it's enough. It will never be enough. It's like bullies. You give them the quarter one day, they want the dollar the next day. The quarter didn't do the trick. It's the same thing here. What Caitlin did is going to be viewed as weakness, and they're going to demand more. She'll learn this at some point. You cannot. Number one, it's not your responsibility to elevate Black people. Number two, what you said, though I truly believe came from the right place in her heart. Notice Gil's response. Gilbert said, she's got a great marketing team. She want to stay at the barbecue. Caitlin, they don't believe you. It's not enough what you say. He didn't believe that you said that because that's what you truly want to do. He's saying you just want to stay at the barbecue. You want to be accepted. You're willing to do this so that they can receive you. You want to stay at the barbecue. And the other guy said, oh, she was invited to the barbecue. It tells you right there. They don't, first of all, he doesn't believe she's accepted anyway. And Gilbert is saying, you just doing this, you're saying this because your marketing team told you to say this so that you can be embraced. Sheryl Swoopes didn't say anything. He asked her and she didn't. You saw it, crickets. Now, it's possible she said, I'm not saying nothing because anytime I say something about Caitlin, then, it's a blow up. But she was just talking about Caitlin, so that doesn't really make sense, right? But it could be that she's thinking, it's about time you do something. But I'm more inclined to think that she's thinking, and these are just my thoughts, but I understand how culture works, how people work, how Black people often talk, how Tammy talked. I'll show you this in a moment, because this is in alignment with what Tammy said. The mindset tends to be, oh, she's going to use her platform to uplift people. So here is the white girl coming in, and her job now, she feels, is to bring up the Black people. This is why you don't give an inch, because you can't win. If you don't say anything about your privilege and about the Black people who came before you, which Caitlin has mentioned before, but she just mentioned them as people, because that's what they are. She's not just saying, there's a Black player, there's a Black player, there's a Black player. She just talked about Maya Moore because she respected Maya Moore. But now, in this article, she specifically mentions Black players, and they built the league, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you don't say anything, you get criticized. When you do say anything, the mindset is often, well, who are you to uplift anybody? And it reminds me of what Timmy said, quoted in this article anyway, said it came through text. This is Timmy being quoted here. America was founded on segregation, and to this day is very much about Black and white. Fag Ben Lay, who loved playing with Clark, writes in a text message. In a sport dominated by Black/African American players, white America has rallied around Caitlin Clark. The support looks mostly amazing, sometimes fanatical and territorial, sometimes racist. It seems that the great white hope syndrome is at play again. The great white hope syndrome. There's a lot wrong with what Timmy said, but the great white hope syndrome. And this is what happens when you are a Caitlin Clark and you finally decide, yeah, I'm going to do my part to uplift Black players. Whether they deserve it or not, I guess, but I'm going to do my part to uplift Black players. You get a Sheryl Swoopes doing like this. This is where I say you can't necessarily win. Because when you don't say anything, you don't care, and you're just wallowing in your privilege. When you do say something, who are you that you should have to uplift us? Or, who do you think you are? The great white hope? And I saw all that on social media throughout the season, except many people wanted to call her the great white hype. So here the white woman is coming in and going to do her part to uplift the lowly Black people. That's not what Caitlin is meaning to say, but that's how that can be read by people. And that's one of the reasons why you don't give in to the nonsense, because you can't win. Whatever Sheryl Swoopes' reason for saying nothing is, why not? If she thought what Caitlin said was worthy of being, was a good thing, then she should have said something. Instead, she sat there and blinked her eyes and sighed. And the guys basically said, yo, she just want to stay at the barbecue. They don't believe you anyway. Okay? So don't make this your goal. And she so much has said so in the article that I know that this league is really, it's important to this league to be a certain way. And so I'm going to be more mindful of that. No, Caitlin, don't. It's a bad thing. I'm telling you, it's only going to, it's like feeding a raw meat. You just want more. You just want more. And I'm not calling people animals. That's not what I'm saying. You get the simile there. By the way, I was going to say metaphor, but the English teacher in me says you use the word like, which makes it a simile, but I digress. Anyway. There is grace at 22 years old, as someone in the culture of this league. There's grace. And but Caitlin is smart. And she would be wise to just do her. And if this is what you feel to do, You got to be true to yourself, but don't allow the pressure from the expectations to make you do and say things that's not the core of who you are, because you're trying to fit in, if that's the case, because it's just not work. It's not at this point, not going to work. Paige Beckers got way ahead of the game in 2021 and they applauded her and loved it, etc. Dude said, "Oh, she's invited to the barbecue." I said what I said. You guys, what do you think? I say let's go Fever, let's go Caitlin, and let's not go all in with an agenda that offers no upside whatsoever. You can sound off in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. If you have not done so, I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.